Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series. We are halfway through the month of December 1983, specifically December 17th, 1983. Before this match or this particular show is there, we are shown a rerun of last week's for the first 15 to 17 minutes of the program, as we are shown a match with Iceman King Parsons and his opponent tagging with the Junkyard Dog against the Super Destroyers from a few weeks back. I don't understand why they do this, probably just to drive home certain feuds or something, I imagine, for the house show circuit. Not my thing, though. I wouldn't want second-run programming on my television shows. Anyway, into the first-run part of the program, General Skandar Akbar sits down with Bill Mercer. They discuss two main topics: the Super Destroyers, the new American Tag Team Champions. The Destroyers are hanging out behind Akbar, and he talks about how nobody, including the Von Erichs, wants to mess with his team. No one wants to sign contracts with them. Also, there's talk of Kerry Von Erich's slam of the Ugandan giant Kamala, and how Akbar is not going to pay out on the stipulation thereof. Then we see a rather disheveled Jimmy Garvin, who is no longer your Americans champion, and he is facing a newcomer to the area, Doug Vines. This is what you would imagine an enhancement match to gain back some of the heat for Precious and Jimmy Garvin after the championship loss. Not that it's a huge deal. Vines, I believe this is his first television foray into the area, and you'll be surprised in 1984 some of the names that come through Texas that are even a couple of years later bigger names in the area, but we'll get a hangout for 1984 for that. Garvin, though, drives his man down quite a bit and uses the buckle and anything else he can get, including a backbreaker, in order to drive his point home. Willing to really take about 70% of the match. A hanging suplex drops him all the way back with the vertical, does Garvin, and Garvin is willing to cheat and do whatever he needs to do. Pulls the man up and wants to dish out more punishment. Vine's barely able to get back up, rolls through, and does take the victory in a, I guess, rolling modified DDT, I guess is what you'd call it. But then we move on to Kevin Von Erich against Buddy Roberts, who is still wearing, all these months later, the headgear and toupee. In the coming weeks, he stops doing that, excuse me, but has not stopped as of here. Obviously, Kevin, helpful in his brother Mike's debut a few weeks back, but still warring with the Freebirds. Kevin, known for being a bit more, I guess you'd say, aggressive when it comes to the Freebirds. Roberts is still your heater for the Freebirds. Ties up the ankles with grapevines, does Kevin. And Kevin is not willing to take a backward step by any stretch of the imagination. Goes back to the feet a couple of times. Sees a weakness and capitalizes on it. Kevin does let his adversary get back to his feet just a little bit, running him into the top turnbuckle face first at a later point in the match, and Kevin is probably more prone to cheat than ever before here, but the cheating is primarily left to Roberts, who uses chokes and cheap shots, eye gouges, pokes, and punches to get things going back his general direction when needed, and certainly he's not particularly a popular guy. Roll through, kind of victory roll into a pinning combination kind of crooked by Kevin Von Erich, but gets the job done. We then go to our main event of this week's television, the Super Destroyers versus Iceman King Parsons and Kerry Von Erich. Parsons, who has been laid out by the Super Destroyers in previous weeks, jump starts things. Backdrop on one of the Destroyers from the beginning, and is easily more fired up than before. Of course, Kerry Von Erich willing to pull out all the stops for his friend. They've built this super well, and the Destroyers with Akbar not very impressed. Bronco Luvic already, even before the match really begins, has some difficulty in controlling his team, and Kerry trying to be the voice of reason. Who would have thought that? While Akbar is cheering on the team on the outside. We then move into Kerry being more known for the arm drags and the slower maneuvers. Fire, when needed, comes at the hands of Iceman King Parsons. Parsons has been in some battles with Akbar for several months now, so the Destroyers wanting to eliminate and destroy, no pun intended, Parsons makes a whole lot of sense. The alliance with the Von Erichs has been good to him thus far. Picking up the possible gold is a good idea, or a possible idea here, but one of the Destroyers, hard to tell them apart because of the masks, and the officials don't really do a great deal about telling them apart per se, or the announcers, that is. All four men get into the ring, and then Kamala comes in, causing a disqualification victory for Parsons and Kerry Von Erich. Four-way beatdown as the Von Erichs come together, and Iceman King Parsons is here. Parsons and Brian Adias. Adias also runs in to try and save some stuff. King Parsons, probably the most impassioned promo that he's ever had. He says he wants Akbar, wants the Destroyers, wants anybody who's responsible for this, and he is angry and he is fired up. You want to talk fire, you don't have to say fancy things, you just have to say them loud and with passion. And that's what we see here, closing out the 17th of December, 1983. We'll be back with more right after this.